Good day, everyone. Today is July 26, 2016. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Welcome to the FloridaMakes webinar titled Quantifying Your Company's Operational Health. I'm your host for today's webinar, Mike Lasecki. I'll be working with the presenters and helping as we transition over to our presenter slide in a few moments. I want to remind everyone that this webinar will be recorded. You will receive automatically a link to the recording. And today you'll have an opportunity to interact with our presenter through the question and chat window. So go ahead and put in any questions that you might have during the presentation, and we'll address them as time allows. It's my pleasure now to introduce Kevin Carr, the CEO of FloridaMakes. Kevin, go ahead and take over.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our second monthly seminar from FloridaMakes. My name's Kevin Carr, and I just want to take a minute to talk about us a little bit. FloridaMakes is a nonprofit with the mission of improving the productivity and technological performance of Florida's manufacturers. We operate in partnership with Florida's regional manufacturing associations with support from the state of Florida through Department of Economic Opportunity and from the National Institute of Standards and Technology Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We work primarily with small, medium-sized manufacturers, and our services are driven by those individual company needs. If you're not familiar with us, I hope you'll check out our website at www.floridamakes.com, where there's a video and information about how we work with companies. Before I talk about today's webinar, I quickly want to highlight our next webinar topics. On Tuesday, August 30th, our topic will be Show Me the Money, an introduction to cost accounting. And on Tuesday, September 27th, our topic will be Technology-Driven Market Intelligence. We also have webinars in the works for October and November, and if you check back with us, you'll see as we post those topics what they will be. You can learn more about these topics and register for them by clicking on the events section of our webpage. One of our primary goals at FloridaMakes is to help small and medium-sized manufacturers leverage their strengths and adopt best practices that can help manufacturers grow and improve their competitive ability and profitability. Now, that process begins with knowing where you are performance-wise as a manufacturer. And our operation is really built around a strong upfront assessment process that guides us through that engagement. So today's webinar topic is on quantifying your company's operational health, the 18 value driver framework that increases company value. And it's a key example of that. This is a high value added service being offered through FloridaMakes for the companies we work with. In fact, we've already been working with some manufacturers to apply CoreValue and help improve their businesses. So today we're delighted to be joined and have a presentation from Chuck Richards, who's the Chief Executive Officer of CoreValue Software. And he'll talk with us today about the 18 value drivers and how those drivers help to assess and improve enterprise value. So Mike, let's change the presenter over to Chuck, and again, welcome everybody.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Okay, folks, hold on for just a second. We're going to change our presentation screen over to Chuck. Chuck, here it comes to you. Folks, you'll see an intermediate slide for a moment. And there we go. That's looking good, Chuck, so you're all ready to go. Chuck, go ahead and launch your PowerPoint. There it is. Thank you. And Chuck, come on with your audio as well.
Good morning, everybody. This is Chuck Richards, and thank you for attending the webinar, and thank you very much, Kevin, for that introduction. The real reason I get to speak to everybody today is that everybody together has made a few mistakes here. But if you added up everybody's mistakes and multiplied them by 2 on the operating side, I've made twice as many. So I've got a lot of companies, and out of all that experience, we realized that there's ways of looking at operations in a framework way, which would enable a very fast, efficient way of looking at the business, so that people can grow their businesses and they can accomplish their goals. And so the two things we realized was this. Number one is around priorities, and number two around trying to find the bottlenecks. So why does it matter to you? And the real reason is, first reason is this, is that if you can identify the bottlenecks in your business, you can focus in on them. So every business has bottlenecks. No matter how good you are, no matter how fast you're growing, you have bottlenecks. And the key to being able to move ahead easily and efficiently is to identify those bottlenecks. We all have fires that are burning all around us. There's all kinds of things happening. But if you have a methodology for identifying the key bottlenecks, then you can focus in on them. And what we've learned from years and years of working with business owners and CEOs and teams, as soon as you focus their attention on the right bottleneck, the right fix, they fix it very, very quickly. So what will you learn today? I call it the 10x IRR rule. If you think about the various bottlenecks in your business and think about your business as an engine, there's only a very few, maybe 1, 2, or 3, that will give you the kind of return, and that should be your focus. So if you have a bottleneck in your business, and if it doesn't give you a 10x internal rate of return, okay, then you shouldn't be focusing on it. So that's the rule we've lived by for years, and it really gets everybody's mind focused on what they're doing. So when you think about your business as an engine, think about that which is keeping your engine from going forward. That's what you need to focus in on. And I just love this picture because there's dollars coming out of your engine, and you only put them back in if you fit that rule. So what would the takeaway be for today? Well, we're going to provide you, as Mike said, at the end of this, a place to log on and to do a free assessment called Discover. And it'll take you about 8 to 10 minutes. And at the end of that 8 to 10 minutes, we're going to give you a bunch of information. So one is we're going to be able to tell you what the potential value of your business is and the gap between where you are and where you're going. And that begins the basis of being able to identify what you should be doing. We're going to tell you what your core value business rating is. So think of the core value rating as the ability of that business to generate future revenue and profit. Okay? So profit is a backward-looking measure. Core value is a forward-looking measure, the ability to generate future revenue and profit. And we'll tell you where you are relative to your peers. We're going to tell you those places where you should be focusing or want to be focusing to capture that gap. And we're going to tell you if you have any red flags. So red flags are things that can basically destroy or impede all the value of your business. So a classic one would be some certain kinds of litigation, like environmental litigation. So we pick up red flags so you can know if things are a threat to you. So how do we do this? And it sounds very good, and it is very good. And how do we basically take things that used to take months, meaning measuring the operational performance of business, and do it in minutes? Now, a friend of mine calls CoreValue, says it's really if you took TurboTax and you connected it to McKinsey. It's really about being able to do that level of quantifying very, very quickly. Well, the way you do things like that is you have to have a framework. So we have an 18 value driver framework. We've been using it literally since I was at MIT in the PhD program. We've always looked at the business as an engine. And over time, we've taken this framework and we've added research to it and data to it and built algorithms. For 10 years, we worked with businesses just like yourselves. We work with manufacturing companies mostly, but we also work with every other kind of industry you can imagine. And what we learned was if indeed we talk to each other, we work with each other based on an operational framework, we could grow companies, and we could grow them very, very efficiently. So what's the methodology, the framework behind all this? There's basically two kinds of drivers that we use, okay? One are market, meaning those are external to your business, and one are operations, that's internal to your business. So the first 9 are external. So is your company growing? How big is the market? Do you have a dominant market share, or do you have room for growth? Is your revenue recurring, or do you have to recreate your customers every day? Can you protect your market? Do you have barriers to entry? Is your product differentiated, or are you a commodity? How strong is your brand relative to your peers? Do you have a margin advantage to prove all that? And do you have a diversified customer base? So those are the 9 market drivers, and those are the questions that would be asked of you if you were going through due diligence, trying to raise capital. But they're the same questions you should be asking yourself and your team. Where are we in the market? Once you know that you can sell in the market, then you have to deliver on your promise. And that's what operations is all about. It's about delivering on your promise. So company overview. How efficiently and easy can you communicate to the outside world who you are, what you do? Financial. Now, we're not looking for your numbers. We're looking for your systems, your process, your ability to generate reliable data. Sales and marketing, one of my favorites, because most people think that that's about, how much am I selling? And it's not. It's really about the processes and systems behind your sales and marketing. It's nice to have hotshot sales folks, but at the end of the day, a great business is built on systems and process. You have a sales and marketing systems and process you can duplicate. Operations. Again, this is what FloridaMakes is very, very good at is, okay, can you deliver on that promise? Can you make what you sold? Are your customers satisfied? Do you have a senior management team enabling the CEO and the owners to keep growing and pass stuff down? Human resources. Are you taking care of your people? Legal, simple, innovation. Are you innovating as you should to stay ahead? And those are the 9 operational drivers. And again, it's all about internally running a good business. So the way we use those is this, is if you think about your business as an engine, the output of your engine is finance. It is the financial performance. And fundamentally, that means revenue and profit. So as long as that engine is providing those, that is great, and that's good. But the challenge is this. If you want to really grow your business, and you're all operations people, you need to look inside the engine. You need to open up the hood. So CoreValue allows you to open up the hood and measure the strengths of the gears across these 18 drivers. And when you bring all that quantifying data together through algorithms, you're going to come up with a single number called the CoreValue, between 0 and 100. So that's a forward-looking measure. It's the ability of your business to generate future revenue and profit. So once you complete CoreValue, and you're going to go through this app, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to quantify the operating performance. We'll ask for some right here in front of you, the financial performance, and when you put those 2 pieces of data together, you come up with the enterprise value of your business. But more important to you as operating folks, we're going to tell you why, we're going to tell you what you can do about it, and then FloridaMakes and folks like that will help you on how to do it. So you will get a URL at the end which you can enter, and you can go do the Discover program right here. So this is the first screen you will see. And what we're asking is for a business profile. We'd like to know your business name. The industry is very important because that's how you understand enterprise value, employees, etc. Revenue and profit. So the only 2 pieces of information we care about are your revenue and your profit, your EBITDA. Now, everything that you provide here is absolutely protected. We have the toughest privacy policies possible. So this information that you provide most you folks do. Also ask you 18 questions. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. So our first driver was growth. So does your business have a history of consistent growth greater than its competitors, coupled with projected future revenue growth above the market's rate? And once you finish this one, you click off, and that's the key. So, and then you can begin to take action. You'll have what the report will look like. We're going to tell you, as you said in the beginning, your potential value. We're going to tell you what your value gap is. We're going to tell you, what your core value identified your bottleneck. Business rating is relative to your peers. That's from 0 to 100. Now, we have about 135 billion on our system of private businesses, people who have entered this kind of data at this level or the deeper level. So we have a lot of detailed, we have a lot of data behind all this. We're going to tell you where your growth and value opportunity lies, and we're going to put it in a pie chart so you can look at these things here. We'll put it not only in pictures, but in words. And down here you can see this blue. This is going to be resources, things that can help you accomplish your goals. Based on what you told us about your business and what you told us about your personal objectives, we can provide you down along here information on that. We're going to allow you to compare your business relative to the 3 drivers creating the biggest part of your gap. So in this case, the financial driver for this company was creating their biggest gap. And so this is where the company is, and this is the rest of the industry. And then below here, these are some resources that could help you. Oh, I'd like to learn about Show Me the Money, chart a course towards cost management. Again, these are very targeted to the specific challenge you may be facing. In this case, it's operations, the same thing here. Here are some opportunities. And then legal happens to be this person. Here's there, how you can avoid legal pitfalls. And the point about this here is that you, the business owner, you, the CEO or leader, have provided your data to FloridaMakes and CoreValue. And we're honoring that investment of time by giving you back not only quantifying the opportunities for you to grow and increase value, but here's some resources that you can do and use. Again, we talked earlier about potential red flags. The algorithms pick up red flags. And in this case, it was a legal one, okay? And here are some things that you can do to reach back. So behind CoreValue is a very, very large library of resources, and we connect those to the exact need. And then we have a summary at the end. And basically, here's where the overall where it stands. This person who fills it wanted to protect and strengthen their company, so here's what we do. And then based on the objectives, again, here are more resources that are connected to what you can go. And ultimately, we give you a road forward if you want to dig deeper. And this is where FloridaMakes comes in. They have advisors and folks who are very, very good at taking you to the next level down. And I'm going to show you what Unlock looks like. But basically, back to that 10x IRR rule, right? Now you said, okay, here's where my business is at a high level. I now know where I should be focusing my time. Is it worth, investing even more time and some dollars to be able to unlock that almost $9 million? If it is, you could contact your advisor. So this is what happens next. You apply the 10x IR rule. But to do that, you need better data, more quantifying information about the business. That's what Unlock's all about. And you do that with a FloridaMakes advisor. It takes about 90 minutes. And for each of those 18 drivers, you're now going to dig deeper. You're going to be able to know what the current value of your business is, what its potential value is, the gap between the two, the drivers creating most of that gap, red flags, and then we're going to provide you an actionable roadmap, the things you could do to capture that. And again, at this point, it's all about how. By working with a FloridaMakes advisor, you're going to have all the data, so how do I move forward? Again, always apply the 10x internal rate of return rule. Don't do it unless you're going to get a huge rate of return. So what happens after the 90 minutes of doing Unlock? You're going to come up with another set of reports. Now, this is a much more detailed report. So we're going to, again, we have the information that you've given us about the business, about their industry, a revenue profit, and again, now we're getting down to the real detail. We're going to tell you what your enterprise value is. We're going to tell you what the gap is. We're going to tell you where your core value rating is down to the number. Now, what's interesting about this slide is the average business when they come in has a core value rating of 56. We're going to tell you the top 5 drivers creating most of that gap. And we're going to actually break that down even further in a minute. And we're going to talk about the red flags. So at this point, you have an overview, a detailed overview of your business from an operational performance perspective. And the question is, what do you do now? As I said a few seconds ago, we're going to even drill down deeper relative to your value gap. As you can see on this graph, don't worry about these things down here. You're doing a fine job. There's no internal rate of return worth doing. But up here, the top 3 is where you want to invest your time. And what we know is that on average, over 40% of the gap is these top 3 right here. So if you're going to focus, this is where you focus. And this is how you prioritize actions. You can run what-if scenarios. Okay, what if? What if I want to, grow my business? And right now, this says it's flat. What if I want to grow, at 10%? What if my industry average growth is 10%? What does that do to my business over the next 5 years? And it's actually quite astounding, and this is what's really interesting about doing what-ifs. If I go from more or less flat growth and just incrementally increasing the quality of my business, increasing its core value rating, and this line here is sort of the average business inside of core value, what they're doing, increasing their core value rating or the quality of their operating business. This is where you end up. So you're going to end up from about a little under 5 million till around 7 million. On the other hand, if you focus in on also growing your business, saying, okay, let's make sure we're growing it, you can basically double the value of your business in that same 5 years. And it's interesting, what we find is people who use core value and they use it at this unlocked level, they increase the value of the business by about 20% per year. I spent 10 years working with business owners as an advisor, similar to what FloridaMakes advisors do. I was a chairman of 50-plus companies. That's where a lot of my mistakes came from. And we literally worked with hundreds of businesses. And what we found every single time was that when the business owner, the CEO, and their team focused in on the right things, we get extraordinary results. The classic was always the same. Well, my team's been working on these problems for a while. How can we actually make sure it all comes together? And it's really simple. The way you make things come together is by quantifying, because now people can measure things. You now have an internal rate of return. It's easier to invest some dollars, $10, $50, $100,000, if you know you're going to get a $500,000 internal rate of return. It makes it investment rather than a hope. And this what-if scenarios and ability to do this is, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? Very powerful. What happens then is, okay, here are the tasks in planning. We literally take the entire value gap and we break it down by the 18 drivers. And because you're digging even deeper in unlock, we're going to break it down even further. So right here, this list, this is the part of the value gap that this component of the driver is. And so all of a sudden you go, okay, large potential market, my future market growth, I haven't been able to quantify that. Because I haven't quantified it, it looks like this. And this here is a whole other set of algorithms called bang for your buck. As we all know, where you want to start spending your dollars are things that are easy, that are fast, that are simple, that are non-disruptive, and provide immediate success. And so we have algorithms that solve all of the potential things you could do within that value gap by your bang for your buck. And so most advisors and owners will sort this way, and that begins to help them focus. What do I do next? This is back to the 10X. And then when you click on something, you can then go, okay, well, what do I do here? Well, this one says document how you monitor competition. That's what you need to do in competitive marketing. Okay, FloridaMakes can help you do that, or you may have your own solution. But the point is, here it is, we are actually drilling down into how you move forward and what you do with those things. And over time, well, which is an interesting fact, is the value gap on a percentage basis doesn't tend to change all that much. Okay? Excuse me, I said that backwards. The value gap on a dollar basis doesn't tend to change all that much. On a percentage basis, it does. Because this, as you invest, as I said, the average business increases their value by 20%, but there's always more. The best run businesses that we have been able to document have a core value rating between 86 and 87%. Those are the best run. And those still have plenty of room to improve, plenty of room to grow. So you don't need to worry about saying, boy, am I going to run out? Am I going to fix all the problems? You know, all of us who've run businesses know that that is never the case. But what we do know is that if we step by step fix the things that are our bottlenecks and we prioritize in that way, we're going to build a great business. And the other thing that begins to happen, and we don't talk much about this, but the businesses begin to change their culture or create a stronger culture around quantifying, around focus, around providing the employees good benchmarks, and the business gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the CEO, you know, can build a better bench below them. The owner has a much better asset to do things with. So over time, the business has more opportunities to do things. And those opportunities are almost endless. So we had a business that we came into, a quick advisor story, and they had an offer on the table, and they said, we're going to sell this business. And they, like all of these offers, there's usually one hook. So they went into due diligence because the price is exactly what the owner wanted, the CEO wanted. Everybody was happy about it. But of course, there was one hook. And the one hook was this. Sure, we will buy the business, but you, the CEO, have to stay on for 2 more years to run the business. And the CEO goes, well, I was doing this to sell it. And so that's when they came to our company, back then called Chairman's View, and we came in to work with them. It was interesting because the first conversation I had with the owner of this business, the CEO, was, well, he was selling it more because he was a little worried than the fact he didn't like his business. He said he loved his business, but he really was worried. And I said, okay, well, let's fix that problem, number one. And then if you're still interested in selling, we can go back. So we did the core value just as you saw. And it turned out his real problem was management. He didn't have a senior management team, so they wanted to keep him. And he didn't have process and systems. So we worked with him, and 3 months later, or literally 3 months later, we had another offer on the table for him, which was twice his old offer. And the interesting answer was, you know what? I really am enjoying my business now. You know, I love this business. I really want to keep growing it. And so he did. And he grew it for a number of years, and then he didn't just sell it, but then he did an acquisition. So the point is this, that once you have control of your business, once the operating controls are there, and you're beginning to move forward and the confidence is there, you can do things. You can do acquisitions, you can go raise more capital, or you could take more time off. But at the end of the day, what CoreValue and FloridaMakes bring you together is real control of your business. So what's in front of you right now is the business scoreboard. That over time, as you use CoreValue and you're working with FloridaMakes, you can track what happens to your business. You can watch the enterprise value and you can watch the revenue and profit. Now, what we are careful not to say to people is, you know, if you do this, you know, that alone increases your business. But every time that people run a better business, this happens. Their revenue and their profit go up. So you get this doubling up effects. If you look at sort of the slope of this and the slope of this, and then you look at the slope of this, right? Your enterprise value is going to increase much, much faster than either your core value rating or your revenue and profit, because it's a combination of a very well-run business with increasing profitability. As a thank you for attending this webinar today and filling out and doing the core value discovery report, we're going to send you a manufacturing benchmark report. I think you'll find it fascinating. So where do you land relative to your peers, okay? Where is your industry going? There's a lot of information that we can now bring to you because you provided us some information inside of the system. And again, all your data is protected. It's all privacy. So when we generate these sort of broader reports, all the data is anonymous. But what it does do is give you a very good understanding of where the business is going, the manufacturing side. And it would only be data from Florida. We work with MEP partnerships all over the country, and we have a lot of data from the manufacturing folks there and other places. So here's the URL for Discover for the webinar login. And when you're done with this, just go on and log on. It's going to, as I said in the beginning, ask you for a few pieces of information. You're going to then go through the 18 drivers one at a time. Should take you 8 to 10 minutes. You're going to push the button, and that report you just saw will pop up on your screen with all the resources from Florida and other places to be able to begin to learn a few things if you choose to. And at the bottom will be a button to connect with FloridaMakes. Okay, I really want to dig deeper. I want to do unlock with these folks. And that will connect you directly to the people at FloridaMakes. So this is the URL that you should be going through. So I'm going to ask if there are any questions, and I'm not quite sure, Mike, how I get to the questions.
I'll just forward them. If you don't mind, Chuck, I'll just ask you the questions. We've got a number that have come in. Let me start with this one. How many companies have you worked with, right? How many has CoreValue worked with over time?
We are literally in our 2 lives in our first version of what we were doing when we were doing the advisory work. We worked with literally tens of thousands of businesses, and since we have turned on this tool, we're now well north of 6,000 or 7,000 businesses where we have detailed data on their operating side. So I told you in the beginning it's about 135 billion. I think the number now is really pushing about 150 billion.
Oh, that's much more than I realized. Can you one of the questions that came in, can you benchmark by sector, Chuck, and how specific can you be about a sector?
Okay, so if you consider a sector an industry, when you're looking at Discover, we're only doing the broad 20 industries, okay? And that's on purpose. And then as you go into Unlock, you now can go to 125 industries. And so the sector analysis at the industry level is pretty good. But probably more important than that is because we have size, we can do it by size, we can do it by location, and this, when you do Unlock, you actually can go down 2 more levels. So we have Discover at the beginning, which is 18 drivers. Then Unlock, you are going to dig deeper on those 18 drivers. That's a level 2. And then there's a level 3 below that, where it almost becomes binary. So think of it as yes, no, so that we know that the quantifying we're doing is very, very accurate. So with all that data, we can do it, sector by sector. We can do it by industry. We can do it by driver. We can do it by size, et cetera. So we're very, very good at data.
Chuck, I have a question that came in. It was just about 2/3 of the way in your presentation, and one of the headlines of the slides was from months to minutes. What does that mean again? Can you tell us again?
Sure. So back when we were doing the advisory work, so I was, as I said, chairman of many, many companies. When we first arrived, we'd have a discussion with the CEO and the owner, and they would tell us what they thought about the business. And then it would take us literally 8 to 12 weeks to confirm that what they told us was accurate, to confirm that we were fixing the right problem, okay? So that would take us 8 to 12 weeks. And again, that was a confirmation that was really important. Back then, we would then start fixing the problems. Today, because we have taken all the research and data and analytics and poured them into technology that looks like this, we can literally get that same end in minutes. So in 90 minutes during Unlock, we can go through and understand what the problems are. We can basically confirm the problems. We can start fixing things. So FloridaMakes can now use Unlock to work with a business in a day or so of digging in using the Unlock tool. They'll have the complete reports. They'll understand where to focus your energy. So now that the real dollars can be used fixing things instead of just understanding things.
That makes sense. Thanks. Here's another question that's come in from our audience. I'll read it to you, Chuck. While I'm sure these principles pertain to all businesses, is there a minimum size business where revenue below the minimum wouldn't make sense pursuing this? So what do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, we've, again, you guys probably can understand by now that I'm a bit of a geek. And so we have used and tested CoreValue from very big billion-dollar companies down to $100,000 companies. And it works as well for both. And so think of it a lot like finance, right? So when you think about finance, you have a balance sheet, an income statement, and cash flow. Irrespective of the size of the business, you need that framework and a way of thinking about your finances. So that's exactly the same with the operational side of your business. And so this framework gives you that ability. We did it with a $200,000 little retail shop, and it worked incredibly well. And it was because even though they only had one employee and one owner, she began to understand what she should pay attention to and said, okay, this is where I need to work. And for hers, it was a point of sale system, and it became very, very clear. So we have yet to find that the size matters because we're talking about operating a great business. The one sort of caveat to that is with startups, and the only difference with a startup is because they don't have any revenue and they don't have any profitability, it's a little harder. So with those, we actually have a special things we do with startups. But again, size doesn't matter.
So Chuck, that was right down to 100K. You're referring to annual revenue there. You've worked with businesses down to that size.
Correct, 100,000 annual revenue.
Okay, good answer.